Well, hello, and welcome back to Read Becca. We are back for another weekly chatty catch-up, the last of the year, in fact. And I went all out on Christmas holiday stuff. So this wrap-up is going to be really, really overwhelming of holiday stuff. And my plans were almost foiled because I did have a holiday plan going in. I haven't really felt very holiday-y this month, the past couple weeks. Not at all, and I did very, very little prep for the holiday, but about as soon as December 23rd, 24th hit, I've been all out since then. But months ago, I've been walking by in my library multiple copies of Small Things Like These by Claire Kagan, and had filed away in the back of my mind that they were there, that was going to be my plan for reading on Christmas Day, and I had it all lined up. And then disaster struck. The 3 copies that were sitting there on the shelf were not there last week when I went to get them. So if you watch Gavin Reads at all, you know it was that darn Florence. So anyway, my plan was foiled, but that meant I kind of got to browse around. I knew I wanted to pick out maybe a holiday rom-com type romance as well. So I was browsing for that kind of stuff and looking for what else I might pick up. And that would have been fine if it were just some holiday romances. But I found the perfect replacement for Small Things Like These, and that was A Christmas Carol, the original manuscript edition. So this is the story, as of course everyone knows. I'm not going to summarize A Christmas Carol because you know what this is. This is a classic by Charles Dickens, and this edition has a lovely, lovely foreword by Comte Bean that's mainly about his personal experiences with the story, and then also introduction by someone who's involved with the history or historical preservation of the document. And so I really enjoyed that as well. The really interesting anecdote about like Van Gogh having enjoyed this. And so this is literally just one side of the page is the handwritten manuscript document and then the printed version of that. And it's cool, but the handwritten side is totally unreadable, like it's illegible. So I can't imagine how they managed to transcribe that because it's really impossible to read. And so reading the history, the introduction with the history about it and them talking about, oh, here are how his edits looked and all of that, I was like, you can't see what that is. So yeah, I enjoyed that very, very much. And it was perfect, actually. So this really worked out because it has been such a long time since I have read this. I may not even have read this myself. I may have just had it read to me. I was that young. I'm not sure. But so getting back into reading it, this is kind of the trite, moralizing type of story that I don't really like. I hate It's a Wonderful Life. Cannot stand it. And that is a very unpopular holiday opinion. But this is kind of that, but it's so short and it's just a bite size of that I think like it's palatable in terms of those aspects. But the writing is so amazing, and the descriptions of the place and the food and the doom that we're feeling as we're following along with this business owner, a wealthy business owner, and that will telescope my feelings on this for you, that doom feels so deep, and the core of the story seems like it's very timely right now, that a lot of business owners may have missed out on this in their upbringing or may need to be reminded of this a little bit in our modern day. So this might be coming back to significant relevance in current times. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. As far as beyond the book though, so I did read this sit and read along with the book, but on top of that, Abigail Thorne released an audio or a live stream of herself reading it as a charity drive here on YouTube. And Abigail is famous for the channel Philosophy Tube. She's now a famous actress and voice actress. For House of the Dragon, I think is where she gained her fame most recently, and very much continuing to gain more and more big roles. So that was great and worked out perfectly because she just released that a few days before Christmas. So I had that going and was listening along, and it was just perfect and delightful like moment of reading on the holiday. So that was great. And then I did 2 holiday rom-coms. So the first was The Merriest Misters by Timothy Janovsky. I picked this up and thought it looked cute, and then realized I had read another book from the author earlier this year, Once Upon You and Me. And this was enjoyable, but I feel very, very mixed about it because We are following a gay married couple here, and Patrick and Quinn. Patrick is very serious and an architect, and he's very like buttoned up and really wants to please everyone. And Quinn is kind of struggling with the fact that Patrick is not communicating clearly with him, and that's a thing between them that they constantly bring up, how Patrick is just not a good communicator. And so they're aware of that. But they've somewhat recently gotten married. They've just bought a house that's very much a fixer-upper, and they're kind of in the process of fixing it up when Patrick volunteers them to host Christmas. And Quinn is like, what are you doing? Why are you volunteering for your family to come here for Christmas? We don't like hosting. Like, they don't seem to even want to be homeowners really, but they did that out of a sense of obligation for norms, more or less. Like, Patrick really keeps driving them as a couple toward living up to norms and expectations. And that was part of why I feel mixed, because that is through the whole thing. So what happens the night before Christmas? Patrick is outside putting up lights, avoiding confessing to Quinn that he has just lost his job. And Quinn is inside trying to put a ham in the oven to prep it, because for some reason that has to be cooked the night before. I don't know, I don't eat ham. So anyway, they are very much in their own world. And then something happens, and the plot takes off as basically a redo of the Santa Claus, where Santa lands on their roof and they think he is an intruder. He's breaking into their home, and they knock him out with a frying pan. Santa gets fed up, takes off his cloak, turns into an average guy, and walks out the door. And then the head elf shows up and recruits Patrick to wear the cape and be Santa. So they decide to go along with this for a 1-year trial. In the process of this, it obviously comes out that Patrick has lost his job, and Quinn is blowing up about that. There's also this really big conflict. Again, this is just the very, very beginning of the story, so I'm not even getting into how things play out. But there's a big element of Quinn being treated both by Patrick's family and initially at the North Pole as Mrs. Claus, basically. Like, he's the Mrs. in the relationship, and doesn't hate that, but thinks that people need to get with the times, more or less. And so, like, I don't know how to take that. I think it was handled nicely in that, like, at the North Pole especially, they make changes in order to accommodate the fact that he is now Mr. Claus. The Merriest Mr. is his official title, and that's obviously the title here. And the family also, in the very end, come around, of course. So I feel like that got dealt with okay. But so much about this was just, I don't like their relationship. So I liked the plot, but that's the Santa Claus. So it was enjoyable and a fun time, but this didn't blow me away. And I really disliked the communication barriers in the relationship, and just the fact that it really, really felt like Patrick was constantly overruling or doing things without even telling Quinn major life decisions to appease his family. And that was a major problem that existed even in memories of their early relationship. So it's always been there, and they just keep struggling through it, and it doesn't seem like their relationship really worked. But it was like, it had a lot of Christmas spirit to it, so I did actually enjoy it. And then Meddling with Mistletoe by Liz Johnson. Oh, and on this one, I definitely liked his newer book better, Once Upon You and Me. So I think this may be just a case of this was an early work and he has improved in those relationship elements. I don't know. But anyway, Meddling with Mistletoe by Liz Johnson. This one should have been my absolute catnip, and it was enjoyable. It was a Christmas cozy rom-com. We're following here Daniel and Whitney. So I felt the plot was very unsolid. But Whitney has all of these dreams that she wants to go to culinary school, and over the holidays she's trying to save up money to pay for that by selling pies, but she doesn't have a kitchen, and she knows this inn nearby is going to be closed, and she's friends with the owners. So she goes over there and they agree to let her use their kitchen, but they happen to be having a couple people staying there even though they're closed, so she has to cook for them as well. One of those people is Daniel, who is a family member in from out of town to help with a big deal that's going on with the family and like a company that's taking over some business, right? So in the process of that, the woman representing the company that is doing business with them the aunt who owns the inn wants Daniel to be paired up with her, this businesswoman. And Whitney also agrees to help push him together with this person in favor for her getting some money to go to culinary school. Very convoluted, right? So all of that is going on, and obviously you can see Whitney and Daniel end up under the mistletoe and sparks fly and all of that. And of course, they keep coming together accidentally, even though she is trying harder and harder to push him toward the other lady. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, very, very well-worn plot, predictable. And it was enjoyable. Like, this was a nice Christmas romance. And that's like the best thing I have to say about it. There was nothing bad about it, but there wasn't really anything that stood out as great about it either. So it was also something that I should have loved, because there were so many culinary elements to this, and like, she's baking, but there was no description or atmosphere regarding the food at all. Same thing, this is set on Prince Edward Island. There should have been a perfect, cozy, small island town vibe, and it was not present there at all. I felt like no one was really described, so it was very, very mellow the whole way through. But it was inoffensive because of that, I guess. So I had a good time, but I think these two ended up being about on par because this had no highs or lows, and this was like all highs and lows. Interesting experiences. I don't regret having read them both, but they were both just okay. All right, sorry about that. I fiddled, and hopefully you can see me somewhat now, but we have storms rolling in, so it may just get darker again, and I will try to fix it, but we'll try to make this quick as well. So those were my trio of holiday reading, and then I kind of attempted to watch some holiday stuff, and it was mixed success as well. I started A Sprinkle of Christmas, which I think was on Netflix, but I don't recall. And I got maybe half an hour in, and it's this baker who is at a new place that she's trying to promote, and then this famous guy comes in. She never sees him, but she wouldn't know who he was even if she did see him, because she doesn't watch movies, and very repeatedly is clear about that. Like, really hammers home that she doesn't have time to watch movies. But so there are a number of mishaps where things get screwed up between them, where they don't know it's each other, and they have this impression about each other with their actual identities, right? And become in a fight online, more or less. But then in person, when they don't know who each other are, they're very, very nice to each other. And so that's the whole premise, I guess. But it was just that sequence of constant friction between the two and just not being very nice online to each other, and repetition of really annoying things that I couldn't do it. I gave up on it. So the guy is famous, but he's so nice, and yeah, it felt very contrived. Anyway, onward to the one I did like, but I'm very confused by, is A Sudden Case of Christmas. This one is not a new one. This one came out a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, and I had it on a list and finally got to it because I knew it would probably be fun because it stars Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito runs a hotel in Italy, and his daughter and her husband, played by Danny's actual daughter with Rhea Perlman and Wilmer Valderrama of That 70s Show, they are coming with their child to the hotel when they normally come only at Christmas time. They're coming in the middle of summer. And why is that? Because they are about to separate, and they want Danny to tell the daughter. They also want her to be in a place where she feels very safe and comfortable, so they can drop this traumatic bomb on her, right? And so I didn't really love that on its own. The reason they're separating is infidelity. And then they decide, or they don't decide, the daughter demands, which I found ridiculous, but it's a Christmas movie, demands that they throw Christmas. And so everyone goes to work, completely turning this hotel in the middle of summer in Italy into a winter wonderland and decorated for Christmas. And so I assumed that at some point it would become actually Christmas, but at no point does this actually take place at Christmas. It's just everybody putting on Christmas there. So the other side of the grandparents, one of whom is Andy McDowell, fly in immediately. They drop everything and come to the hotel as well, so that they can all have Christmas together like they always do. And oddly, there's yet another infidelity scandal involved there with them being there at the hotel. there's a lot of infidelity for what seems like, I don't know, it seems like this should be a rom-com and there kind of is a love story there, but there's very little romance. And it also seems like it should be a family movie, but there's so much infidelity. There's nothing on screen scandalous, but like it's constant that there has been this infidelity problem multiple times. Danny is also grieving his dead wife, and it just feels like it doesn't fit in any category really, but yet I enjoyed it a ton because you have the Christmas setting, despite it being summer in Italy, and it's Italy, so it's great as it is. The hotel is kind of charming, and it seems like there's a lot of people who are regulars there, and everyone, the whole community rallies around making this happen. So it does kind of feel magical, but in a way that humans are making the magic happen, and I very much like that. They're also, I feel like the core message was something I really got behind and believed in. Rather than it being like Christmas magic, it was much more about finding your own identity and pursuing what actually makes you happy, regardless of how that makes other people feel. And I think, like, not necessarily the giving up of old things lightly, that wasn't present there, I don't think, but being honest with yourself, I think, and knowing when your path needs to change. I think that was a great lesson to learn out of this, but it was just such a weird combination of elements that I didn't really get who it's for, but I liked it. So that was what I watched. My holiday was pretty quiet. I baked multiple batches of cookies as well, so like it has been a full-blown holiday week. I had some time with friends this weekend, but most of the stuff I was supposed to do this weekend has been canceled because other people were sick, or the weather. As I said, the storm's rolling in. I was supposed to go to the zoo lights, which I love, but no, they're not happening. So that's disappointing, but I had a great Christmas. It was pretty low key. A little heartbreaking. I did not get any socks. I'm being hyperbolic there, that I'm not really sad that I didn't get socks, but I had been planning for months, or not months, but like a month, probably several weeks, waiting for socks to get here because I have destroyed all my socks. For some odd reason, they've just all started falling apart in irreparable ways over the past several months, and I've been dwindling to fewer and fewer socks of the type that I really like. And so I was waiting to see what kind of socks I got and how many at Christmas to either buy some or not. And I got no pairs of socks, which is very, like, that's something I rely on, that I could always count on to get socks. So I got no socks. So now I'm gonna have to go get some socks that I actually like, which is fine. But like the one thing I was counting on, I did not get. I also spent a bunch of time doing little crafty things. So I started a puzzle, but I didn't get very far because I detoured into making an amigurumi. That's actually for a gift. But I made a little dinosaur. He's pretty cute, and I'm quite happy because this is I'm not a very good crocheter, but I can follow a video. This is not from a video, this is from a pattern, and it came with a kit. So it was my first time successfully completing a project from a pattern, because crochet patterns are kind of annoying. There were a lot of things that I kind of had to look up videos for because they weren't specifically spelled out in the pattern, and I needed to check what sort of options were. And try one or two different things before I got one that I liked, more or less. He also didn't turn out very even. Like, these were supposed to be different sizes, but they're all just sort of lumpy, that sort of thing. So, but I think is pretty cute. And so I feel like that was a good success of my having worked through a pattern and actually completed. And that made me feel more confident that I could work from a pattern. And I have this pattern now, so I could do it again. The yarn that came with the kit was terrible though. So I think that was part of the challenge, was that it was just really bad yarn that I kept getting individual single strands of the yarn coming through and having to like fight with it a lot. So I could do this again now that I have the pattern with better yarn easily. I also got to practice my magic rings a lot because of all of the things, which is good because magic rings I am baffled by and struggle with. It was also my first time doing an amigurumi, which is the little plushies by crochet. And I would like to be able to do them because obviously they're very, very cute, but they require a certain skill set, like I said, of being able to follow a pattern and doing magic rings and stuff like that, where I usually just do things that are very like straight rows, and I follow videos, which if it works, but I would like to be able to do stuff like this. And so now I feel I succeeded at starting to do that. So that was good. What else? I went and walked dogs on Christmas, which was nice. It was much better than Thanksgiving because there were actually a couple other people there, and for significant amounts of time. So I didn't have to go for the whole thing and just zoom through. The dogs actually got some decent walks. That felt very good. And I actually went in again and for an hour another day since then and just walked casually some dogs as well, because people have been out sick. To what I said earlier with, like, friends of mine are sick. Everybody seems to be sick right now. So I am desperately trying to not get sick. So I'm going to be cozied up at home this weekend. It's supposed to get ridiculously cold. So it's like 75 right now. It's supposed to be, I think, 15 tonight. Ridiculous. 60 degree temperature. Wild. Anyway, so I think that's all. I'm going to give you some recommendations that are, again, all Christmassy. So I limited myself to Christmas stuff, though I do have more videos that I marked for recommendations for next week. We will save them until then. So my trio of Christmas recommendations, as I mentioned, the first was Abigail Thorne reading A Christmas Carol. Fantastic performance. Loved it. The second one is kind of political, but not really. There's no discussion of actual politics, but there was a video of Zoran Mamdani, the newly elected mayor of New York, attending Mandy Patinkin's Hanukkah celebration. Mandy Patinkin, very famously of The Princess Bride. And it was the most just beautiful, delightful, charming thing. And again, not really any politics. It's just them being together and being friendly and caring to each other and having little chats. It's not super long. Just go watch it if you need some hope and joy in dark political times. And then the third is kind of baffling because it's actually an ad. Iceland Air did a series of ads promoting, like, you should come to Iceland, basically. But they did them based on Iceland's mythic Yule Cat. And they have someone dressed up as the Yule Cat in all of these. So I'm going to link my favorite one, which is the Yule Cat reacting to art of himself. And it's so funny and so sarcastic, but they have a whole bunch of them. I think I have watched all of them, but I'm keeping my eye out because they were releasing them like staggered. And oh my God, it cracked me up so hard. Definitely check out Iceland Air's Yule Cat ads because, oh my gosh, just impeccable. Like the best advertising you could possibly get. So sarcastic, so funny. Anyway, that is my Christmas explosion on you here, and hopefully I will have much more reading over the next few days ahead of the end of the year. And actually, I forgot to mention what I was reading. I've been totally focused on Middlemarch. Look how close we are. I think today and maybe tomorrow, I think we've got this. So that's what I'm completely focused on before the end of the year, is knocking out Middlemarch. So I hope you had a wonderful holiday if you celebrated. I hope you're having a low-key holiday time in between as we approach the end of the year and the start of the new year. And I will return to you in the next few days in already recorded videos. And I will return to you in real time back again next week in the new year. So with that, I say I hope you have a wonderful week in reading and in life. And thank you so very much for watching.